Juventus defeats Parma 2-0. First goal of the new signee in an official game, Jonathan David. Second goal, Dusan Vlahovic. Is this going to be his last dance? Who knows? But we're going to talk about this and more during this video. And don't forget that in both occasions, the assist man was the one and only number 10, Kenan Yildiz. Can I say it? Finally. Finally, we're back talking about soccer, football, calcio, however you want to call it. Because as I told you before, for me, it's been a pretty rough summer. We've been talking about this transfer market that for us, Bianconeri, has been extremely slow. Not that much to rapport, in the camp, but it becomes stressful because at the end of the day, we're here to watch games. Before we start, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel. It helps me a lot and it is free. And then make sure you leave a like and a comment down below. But please comment because I want to know what do you think about this first game of Igor Tudor squad and what is your expectation for this season. Starting a new season is always something that it's pretty exciting. This season is a little bit different because we played the World Cup for club during the summer, so we haven't had more than 3 weeks without soccer, and it kind of feels like we're still in the past season, but things have changed. We have a few new players, so it's important also to realize that we need to take a look at the other teams and how they're playing. So before we talk about this game, I need to touch base on a couple of games that I saw yesterday. The first one was Napoli's game with a team, a squad that has a good amount of new players. Yesterday, only a couple. Conte decided only to play a couple from the start. Luca, and of course, De Bruyne in the midfield. As always, Napoli is not one of those teams that is so exciting to watch. We're not talking about EPL over here. We're not talking about Arsenal. We're talking about a team that is very solid, kind of like plays by memory at this point. And again, it's very hard to defeat. It is clear that it's going to be the team to beat. And, even if they won 2-0, it is also clear that they're going to have to go back to the transfer market after Lukaku's injury because Luka cannot be that player. He's a guy that requires, a lot of crosses and different type of service. Lukaku is somebody that plays much more with the team and, goes and gets the ball, protects the ball, let the squad come up, and that's not Luka. But however, they won 2-0, and I think they showcase that they can only and always get better. At the same time, we saw Milan defeated in this historical defeat versus Cremonese, team that comes from the second division, and 2-1. With that amazing goal from Bonazzoli in the second half, but a Milan that desperately needs a striker because, Santi Jimenez is not that guy. He's not that guy that does that type of play, same as, Luka. He's not a player that is going to defend the ball. Actually, he doesn't like to do it. He wants more through balls. And yesterday, Milan really struggled. And on top of that, I think I had a higher expectation from Allegri's comeback, but he showcased that still he doesn't have many new ideas, and he kind of offers always this soccer that is this defense that yesterday was not that great at all, and then from the 40 yards, 50 yards on, let this play do whatever they think is best. That's not a way to play anymore. You can do that only if you have an incredible, amazing quality team, and let's be honest, Milan needs a few players. But anyway, so let's talk about what we care about, which is, let's talk about Como, because this morning I also watched Como's game versus Lazio. They won 2-0 with that amazing second goal of Nico Paz. But Como is going to be a team to watch out for. Younger team, young coach, which is amazing, Fabregas, and they offer that soccer that I like to watch. They're young, hungry, they play well, they are technically gifted, and then they never back down. I think that game could have been like a 4-0-1 for Como. But again, watch out because it could be one of those teams that starts, putting some pressure on the big Italian teams. Let's talk about us. Let's talk about Juventus. And, I was surprised by the lineup. I didn't expect Kalulu to play in that kind of like a winger role on the right side. For the rest, the formation was pretty much what we've seen during this preseason. And, honestly, Kalulu also was able to put put in a couple of good crosses, even if it's not really his position. And he always puts the effort in, but that's not his position. And I don't know if Tudor did that to kind of like send a message, an encrypted message to, the higher level of the club saying, hey, I need to play Kalulu because I don't really have anybody else in that position. Please go back to, to the drawing board and, give me a couple of like good players from the transfer market. I don't know. I know for sure the next week is going to be on fire for Juventus transfer market. So make sure to follow the channel, and then, I'm going to keep you posted. However, the first half, I think, was kind of like underwhelming. Juventus showed a lot of the limits that we have kind of like seen in the past season with Thiago Motta first, and also in some way also with Tudor at the end of the season. I mean, a lot of passes, a lot of ball possession, around 70% in the first half, but without trying to really score, without big chances, without creating big chances. And in fact, even Jonathan David was struggling in the first half. He had a couple good touches, one for Thuram that got saved by the goalkeeper, but not that much more. And actually, in few occasions, he seemed kind of like maybe a little out of condition, or maybe suffering some of the hard training that they're doing. But it didn't really impress me in the first half. Same with Yildiz, because Yildiz, I don't think he had that many touches in the first half, because again, it wasn't his fault. Juventus was very, very slow at moving the ball, and so it became very predictable. And that's the same issue that we had last year. And, our midfielders are slow. In fact, I was laughing when they were, talking about Douglas Luiz regarding his speed in the midfield, because Locatelli, that plays in the same position, is not a fast player at all. And sometimes, actually, we suffer when he, plays like today, because he tends to slow down the game quite a bit, opposite than Thuram. Thuram is a box-to-box player. He can do both phases. He can be a great attacker. He can also be amazing at defending. But the first half has been kind of emotionless, not much to report over there. The second half, I didn't have much expectation after the first half. I was like, I don't know what's going to happen. And then Yildiz kind of like took the team by the hand and decided to kind of increase the speed of the motor and show proof that even if he's so young, he's a player that it's too important for Juventus. He started trying. He had a couple of good chances from outside of the box. And then, after David, I think did definitely better in the second half. He did have that half chance in which he kind of like scuffed the ball from the cross from the left side. And then Kenan Yildiz, when everybody was expecting him to cut in and kind of try to find his right foot to have that curler, well, actually went on his left foot and put in that amazing ball. And David did that goal, which is a David goal. If you watch his highlights, that's exactly what he does. He takes position because he's pretty, he has a physique, even if he's a little short, but he's a powerful attacker. So he took the right position in the middle of the area, and then he scored a very nice goal with his, right boot with the outside of the boot. And that was a very important moment, because at the beginning of the second half, there is this big chance for Parma in which that's why Bremer make us all happy. And the fact that he's back is so amazing, because Bremer saved a goal right at the beginning of the second half in which Gatti was struggling on the left side with Almquist, and there is the ball through in the middle in which Pellegrino is doing an easy tap in, and then Bremer saves the goal because that was a goal. So Parma had a couple of chances, but no more in the second half. And then when you go 1-0 up, there we go. Cambiaso, 15 minutes before the end of the game, makes that, very silly and unjustifiable mistake for somebody of his experience. You cannot get a straight red card when you're up 1-0. It's the first game. You're kind of like you're managing the game with ease. It makes no sense, because then you put the team under pressure. Juventus made some changes. Finally, we got to see also Joao Mario in that position, which is like that right winger kind of position, right back, right winger position. Then Gatti went out because he already had a yellow card. Kalulu got moved in the back on the defense line with Bremer and Lloyd Kelly. Then we saw Cobb Miners that took over for Locatelli, and then there was a swap also up front between Jonathan David and Dusan Vlahovic. Well, we saw why Joao Mario can add some of that quality, because Joao Mario is the third time in a row that offers like a very good ball, and when Parma is actually taking advantage of the extra man and puts pressure on Juventus, he gets the ball back and gives that beautiful pass to Dusan Vlahovic that actually does something very smart, because with 2 touches goes and finds Yildiz that is running by himself, towards the goalie. But after 30 yards, Yildiz realizes that he's not going to be able to get all the way to the end and try to shoot. So he sees with the corner of his eye that Dusan Vlahovic has taken position in the middle of the of the box, and he offers like a very easy ball for a tap in 2-0 in a very, very difficult time of the game, because again, you could have been in trouble after the red card. And he said Kenan Yildiz second assist of the game, and very special moment also for Dusan Vlahovic, because Dusan Vlahovic goes in front of the fans, open his hands in silence, staring at everybody, and kind of like gets a pretty big standing ovation from the stadium that in the past few months has been criticizing the player a lot, has been also kind of like whistling him quite a bit and actually not supporting the player. Is this going to be the last dance for him? Is the transfer to Milan a possibility? Does it make sense for Juventus to actually let him go, maybe for a very, very small amount of money and a small fee? Or at this point, with this transfer market that has been already troubled for Juventus, would make more sense to keep him until the end of the contract, until the contract expires? Let me know. Drop me a line. I'm curious to know, what do you think? I also think that Tudor, for him, was important to start the season well. This year, the expectation is different. I think that, maybe a lot of people are discounting Juventus just because of the transfer market, just because the fact that the team is more or less the same as the last year, with the exception of like a couple of players. At the moment, we don't know. I repeat, next week is going to be a very, very hot week for Juventus, I think, for transfer market, but not just for Juventus, for a few teams in Serie A. But I do believe that Tudor made that strange choice to play Kalulu at the beginning. But other than that, showcased that in the first half, he probably shared some of his concern with the team, because when the team came out of the locker room, well, the second half, the energy, the willingness, the speed, and some of also those ideas were much better than the first half. And today was important also to not concede, because Juventus last year had this kind of like a few games in which, if you remember, we were going up 1-0 and then we were conceding the last 5-6 minutes. We had like 6 or 17 draw in the whole game. So I do believe that today was important to not concede, and at the same time to show proof that if Juventus requires a player to kind of like take the team by the hand and take the team over the obstacle, I think it's clear that that player is Kenan Yildiz. I do believe that David this year is going to score a good amount of goals and is going to grow. Plus, we saw Cobb Miners in that position, which to me, that's the position that Cobb Miners needs to play in, which is in the midfielder, in those two in the middle with Thuram, and actually can grow. It could be one of the new signee, even if he's been there for a year, because last year we didn't have a chance to see him completely fit. I want to close this video adding about Conceição that has so much potential, but Conceição, for me, the image of Conceição is that opportunity that he has when he does that run for 30-40 yards, and then he keeps looking right and left. He actually had two options. He had actually probably, I think, was Vlahovic completely free, and he doesn't give the ball, or was maybe was David, I remember. But those are situations in which he needs to grow. If he grows, I think could be like a terrific, right or left winger, because he's good like on both sides. But the important thing today was to win. We did it. I think it's gonna be a very, very amazing season, and I do believe that a team that like Como that we gotta watch out for, and then also Roma demonstrated with Gasperini that can probably be part of the race for the Scudetto. So let's keep our eyes open, ears open. I'm gonna try to keep you posted. Today was important to get a win. We did it. So Still work in progress, still a lot to do. And again, I'm pretty sure we're going to get a couple of new players, and probably a couple of players might decide to go somewhere else. Sempre Forza Juventus, always Forza Juventus. Follow the channel, leave a like, and let's talk soon. Ciao!